Live from WTOC, the Southeast News leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Welcome to The News on WTOC Plus. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley, joined with investigative reporter Shay Schrader, who joins us with a look at her investigation because the former Bryan County Fire Chief is now speaking out, alleging some safety concerns at the Hyundai mega site. Shay, you've been following stories like this for well over a year now. What's the former fire chief saying?
He has some very specific allegations. Now, a little bit of background. This is former Fire Chief Matthew Burns. He was hired to head up Bryan County Fire and Rescue in January of this year. And when Bryan County brought him on, they said that they brought him on because of his excellent commitment to public service and 3+ decades of experience in the industry. So he has some very serious credentials there. He said that in his time as the fire chief, he noticed several very concerning incidents on the Hyundai megasite, including instances in which fire alarms and smoke detectors were not properly placed, engines running inside buildings, or generators rather running inside buildings and causing a presence of carbon monoxide, and even an incident where water had to be shut off. And he and the fire marshal ordered battery testing to stop while that water was off, because without water, there would be no way to fight a fire if something happened. And that order was either overridden by other county officials, or word never got to building inspectors who were outside contractors. So some pretty serious incidents there.
I see. And Shay, I feel like you've been on Plus like half a dozen times at this point to talk about the Hyundai mega site. This isn't the only safety issue or alarm being raised about potential safety concerns at the site, right?
No, it's not. We've done extensive reporting on safety issues on the construction side of things, which a lot of this was happening in the construction phase of the HLGA battery company, but we've done extensive reporting on the amount of traumatic injuries and calls for service that have been made to the Hyundai megasite over the course of construction, because people have gotten hurt or in several instances even lost their lives due to safety violations.
I see. And for this investigative story, which will be airing this evening on WTOC, I know you interviewed the former fire chief. We have a soundbite queued up, but can you tell us a little bit more about what you two talked about? And then we'll play that soundbite.
Yeah, we had a very lengthy conversation, and in it he just kind of went through when he was first hired on. He said that he wasn't ever really clearly given any directives on what his specific role at the megasite was, but that he was made aware very quickly the importance of the project to not just the county, but even the governor's office. And he said that there were just multiple concerning instances, and he outlined a lot of those in our interview. He also talked a little bit about why he feels that he was ultimately terminated from Bryan County Fire Services. That happened in August of this year, and he said that he felt like a lot of it had to do with pushing back on safety issues at the site and how that was being run, but also issues at the fire department as a whole. But yeah, in that soundbite we have queued up, I think he talks a little bit about just some instances of safety problems that he himself observed.
They let them just keep going with full knowledge that there was no water to fight a fire should there be a hazard.
So it sounds like a lot of this kind of centers around him alleging an emphasis on productivity or getting things done over safety.
Yeah, he believes that politics and keeping things running and moving at all costs were really prioritized before safety. And in the story that we're going to have airing at 6 o'clock tonight, we also dig into some emails that we were able to obtain via open records requests, in which it is described that the folks that run Hyundai and LG are relentless in their requests, and that if they were requesting something on a life safety standpoint, if they needed to be told no, they needed to be told no at least 3 times.
And have county leaders said anything about these accusations?
We have reached out to Bryan County for comment on these specific allegations. We haven't heard anything back yet, but they did say that they're looking into it and are intending to get back to us.
All right. Well, another chapter in this saga developments over at the Hyundai mega site. Shay, I know you just said it a moment ago, but what time will this full investigation air?
The news at 6.
All right. Looking forward to seeing it. And thanks for joining us here on Plus.
Thank you.
All right, well, we are going to continue with our top stories for the day here on WTOC Plus. We do have an alert because about 3,600 gallons of sewage went into Pipemaker's Canal yesterday after a sewer spill in Savannah. Here's what we know. The city says it happened near 602 Dean Forest Road. That canal does flow into the Savannah River. The city says the spill was caused by a mechanical issue at a nearby sanitary sewer pumping station, which led to a sewage backup and ultimately a manhole overflowing. The city said crews fixed the pumping station yesterday evening, and they used vacuum trucks to recover the spillage. This is classified as a minor spill under state environmental reporting guidelines. Moving now to the Crime Watch, Beaufort County deputies are investigating an overnight shooting that left one man injured on St. Helena Island. It happened around 8:40 last night on Lands End Road on St. Helena. That's according to the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. When deputies arrived on scene, they found a 42-year-old man who had been shot. He was taken to a hospital to be treated. We don't have any word yet on his condition. The shooting is under investigation, and the Sheriff's Office asks anyone with information to call Sergeant Liddy at that number on your screen. It's 843-255-3294. And Chatham County officers are working to remove a boat that overturned last night. It happened in the Moon River Skidaway River area, which is near Burnside Island. The boat's driver was rescued, taken to the hospital, and has since returned back home. CCPD alerted the U.S. Coast Guard, who are marking that area so boaters can be aware as they approach. Well, this is a story we continue to follow here on WTOC. The search continues for the man who used acid to attack a woman who was walking at Forsyth Park last Wednesday. A community walk took place last night at that same park to show support for Ashley Wyzeliski as she recovers. Ashley has spent much of the last week in surgeries. This all comes after she was walking around the park when a man threw acid on her, burning more than half of her body, which again happened last Wednesday. Community members came to the scene to say they want to reclaim their park from crime.
We thought we could bring the community together and show Ashley that we're here for her, but also, you know, we want to live our lives and take back the park, basically.
Now, 9 Line Apparel is donating $25,000 to anyone who can help police identify and convict the person responsible. Their CEO, Tyler Merritt, said anyone with information can contact Savannah Police. Now, Collins Quarter also announced a reward for information. With other community donations, that reward has now reached $22,000 for information leading to an arrest. The FBI has also issued a $5,000 reward. Turning now to state news, the father of the accused Appalachia High School shooter faced a judge this morning. This was the final motions hearing ahead of his trial, which is set to begin in February. Colin Gray is accused of giving his son, 14-year-old Colt Gray, access to the rifle allegedly used in the shooting that killed 4 people. Nimani Watson with our sister station in Atlanta has more from the Barrow County Courthouse.
During a motions hearing Thursday, prosecutors and Colin Gray's attorneys questioned witnesses about the investigation on September 4th, the day of the shooting, and an investigation from the year before. Colin's attorneys have previously argued that statements Colin gave to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation were not freely or voluntarily given. Prosecutors brought in GBI Special Agent Kelsey Ward, who interviewed Colin the day of the shooting to testify.
Did you threaten him or coerce him in any way to get him to talk to you?
I did not.
Ward also says Colin offered to show her his phone with text messages that he sent to and received from Colt, as well as emails about getting counseling for his son. Ward says Colin signed a consent form to seize his phone.
I presented him with a consent to search form, which is a GBI document, and explained what that meant, which was that we would extract the information from his cellular device using a software program and review that information.
Colin's attorneys questioned Ward, asking her what time she arrived at Colin's home and to describe the scene. Ward says there were multiple officers already at the home when she got there.
When you say multiple, if you're able to estimate for me, how many law enforcement officers would have been there?
I'm going to say anywhere from 10 to 20.
An investigator with the Jackson County Sheriff's Office also testified about speaking with Colin in 2023 after receiving a tip from the FBI about a school shooting threat.
Turning now to regional news, multiple people were killed in a plane crash in North Carolina this morning. Now, a business jet crashed while landing at an airport in Statesville. That's about 45 minutes north of Charlotte. The FAA told CBS News that 6 people were on board, but the exact number of fatalities has not yet been confirmed. Business records show the plane is owned by a private company associated with NASCAR driver Greg Biffle.
Like we said, approximately 10:15 a.m., we got a report of a corporate jet that crashed off the end of the runway on the east end. When actually I came out, it was already fully involved. We've had multiple agencies, as we said, come. The FAA arrived about 12 o'clock today. They're taking over the scene. They're taking over the investigation. We have no information on any cause. The airport now is closed until further notice. It will take some time to get the debris off the runway.
According to the City of Statesville's website, that airport is city-owned and provides corporate aviation facilities for Fortune 500 companies, as well as several NASCAR teams. Well, coming up after the break here on WTOC Plus, we're breaking down some of the major talking points from President Trump's primetime speech last night, including a pretty significant bonus being offered to our nation's military members. And then we'll also be looking back at some of the top health stories from 2025 as part of our year in review. Stick around. WTOC Plus is back in 90 seconds. Welcome back to the news on WTOC Plus. On the end of a year primetime address that President Trump gave last night, he touted accomplishments and outlined his goals for the next 3 years. Olivia Rinaldi is at the White House with details.
Totally failed. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world.
In a speech to the nation Wednesday night, President Trump highlighted his achievements since returning to office.
We inherited the worst border anywhere in the world, and we quickly turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country.
The president painted a rosy picture of the U.S. economy under his leadership.
We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen.
The president's remarks came ahead of new data Thursday that showed the consumer price index rose just 2.7% in November, indicating that inflation is easing.
I am bringing those high prices down and bringing them down very fast.
But the latest CBS News polling finds a majority of people, 76%, say their income is not keeping up with inflation. President Trump also addressed rising health care costs as those tax credits from the Affordable Care Act are set to expire at the end of this year, raising health care premiums for millions of Americans. Mr. Trump didn't offer a specific health care framework, but said health care subsidies should go to Americans and not insurers.
I want the money to go directly to the people so you can buy your own health care. You'll get much better health care at a much lower price.
As affordability remains a major issue ahead of next year's midterms, the president promised to unveil aggressive housing reform in the new year. Olivia Rinaldi, CBS News, the White House.
And staying in national news, the House has passed a GOP-led health care bill. However, it does face an uncertain future in the Senate. The bill does not include an extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits, meaning they will expire at the end of the year. House Speaker Mike Johnson says a vote on a 3-year extension could still happen in January. Without them, millions of Americans will see their health insurance premiums rise. Back here in the Peach State, for Georgia farmers, you can now get some of a $12 billion federal relief fund to help face higher costs, market losses, and inflation. Some farmers say they're still recovering from Hurricane Helene, but that's already on top of the effects of the pandemic and frost conditions. We're hearing from one farmer who says money from the government is necessary to stay in business.
The problem is other countries don't have the same standards for production that we do. That means that we have to sell it for less sometimes than what we're making it for, just like we're talking about. So those subsidies are there to kind of be a gap to fill in so that we can continue to keep these things produced in America. And without them, it makes it almost impossible.
Farmers who want to qualify for the Trump administration's $12 billion Farmer Bridge Assistance Program have until tomorrow at 5 p.m. to verify their acreage. If approved, payments are expected to go out by the end of February. Well, we're continuing our year in review here on WTOC Plus. Yesterday, we looked at some of the top international stories from 2025, and today we're taking a look at the top health headlines, where longtime vaccine skeptic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. made big and controversial impacts on the nation's public health this year as Secretary of the Health and Human Services Department. Michael George has that, plus the other medical news that made headlines in 2025.
RFK Jr. reshaped the CDC's vaccine advisory panel, which then voted to limit recommendations on shots for COVID-19, influenza, MMR, chickenpox, and hepatitis B. The new CDC director says she was fired less than a month after her confirmation because she wouldn't rubber stamp the recommendations.
If vaccine protections are weakened, preventable diseases will return.
280 children died from the flu last season, the highest number since 2009. Nearly 90% of those cases involved children who were not fully vaccinated. The CDC changed its website. Despite overwhelming scientific evidence that vaccines do not cause autism, an asterisk was added, stating studies have not ruled out the possibility that infant vaccines cause autism. RFK and President Trump also told the country that pregnant women should not take acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, because it may cause autism.
Don't take Tylenol.
The FDA no longer required black box warnings on many menopause hormone therapy treatments. The agency also ordered food manufacturers to phase out petroleum-based food dyes.
For companies that are currently using petroleum-based red dye, try watermelon juice.
The U.S. Surgeon General issued a warning. Alcohol consumption is the third leading preventable cause of cancer after tobacco and obesity, increasing the risk for at least 7 cancers. Former President Joe Biden was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer, and a report by the American Cancer Society found rates of prostate cancer increased after years of declines. Additional ACS findings showed an increase in cancer related to obesity, including breast, pancreas, and kidney cancers, and in people under age 50.
That's certainly a topic for more research. I don't think we have a clear answer of that.
The number of adults in their late 40s getting screened for colorectal cancer skyrocketed after age guidelines for screening were lowered to start at 45. A scary year for parents. Dozens of babies were hospitalized after a botulism outbreak in infant formula. A long-term analysis published in The Lancet found ultra-processed foods are fueling chronic disease worldwide.
Focus on having 2 to 3 real meals a day, so whole foods, not ultra-processed foods.
Researchers also found excessive screen time could be putting kids' heart health at risk, and owning a smartphone before age 12 could increase depression, obesity, and insufficient sleep. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
All right, and we're going to wind down the show with some good news here on WTOC Plus, because the holidays are now a little brighter for students facing homelessness in Liberty County, thanks to the school system's Board of Education. A gift giveaway took place at the Liberty County Board of Education on Broadwell Street in Hinesville yesterday. You're getting a look right now at some of those gifts. Sponsors and school staff delivered the gifts to families as they drove through the circle at the front of the BOE building. Event organizers say they wanted to give out a variety of gifts to the students, some fun items as well as some practical items.
Lots and lots of toys because we do serve students throughout the district at all 15 schools from kindergarten to 12th grade. So it depends on the age. Some are toys and some are toiletry type things like lotion, perfume, sometimes socks, underwear, hats, things like that, clothing, jackets. You know, it just depends on the student's age and, of course, what our contributors want to give.
This is the 8th year for the Liberty County School System's Brighter Christmas event. This year it served 69 families with 138 students. And with that, we are going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. We appreciate you spending part of your afternoon with us. We'll be back at the top of the hour for another round of stories for Welcome to Our Community with Dawn Baker at 3 o'clock. And in the meantime, you can always head on over to our website to catch the latest stories. That's at WTOC.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll now join Local News Live in progress.